Why do some people leave your life just when you thought they were meant to stay forever? And why do some stay yet feel like strangers to your soul? When two lives intertwine through marriage, could it be destiny, or is it karma quietly fulfilling its ancient script? Not everyone who touches your heart is meant to remain, and not everyone who stays truly belongs there. Yet when two people meet and their paths lead them to bind themselves in marriage, it is never just chance. Behind this moment lies something deeper, the invisible current of karma. In the unseen workings of the universe, many of our choices are not consciously made. Some are born from seeds sown long before this lifetime, before this very breath. As the Buddha once taught, all things arise due to conditions. Nothing exists on its own. This profound truth, known as paticca samuppada, or dependent origination, also reveals the hidden forces behind why two souls are drawn together in marriage. Love is not always the foundation of a union. Sometimes it's a karmic debt. Sometimes a painful lesson. Sometimes a mirror reflecting all the truths one refuses to face. And only sometimes it is the beginning of true liberation. Let us now step into a story that unveils these truths hiding beneath the veil of romance, fate, and coincidence. Each chapter will gently uncover the deeper philosophy behind marriage and karma, not as abstract teachings, but as a living, breathing energy shaping real lives. Because what appears to be the first meeting is rarely the beginning. A monk once sat in quiet reflection as a couple walked past him, arguing over something small, maybe a forgotten errand or a broken promise. Their voices clashed, yet they remained tightly bound by vows they hardly understood. To the outside world, they seemed mismatched, but karma sees with different eyes. What looks like contradiction from the surface might, in fact, be perfect karmic precision. Later, a man entered the monk's chamber, his face weathered not just by age, but by silent suffering. He bowed deeply and confessed, "I married a woman I thought I loved, but now I feel like a prisoner. Why would karma tie me to her?" The monk replied, "Because karma doesn't bind you to comfort. It binds you to clarity. Marriage isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about meeting the soul who triggers your unfinished work." The man was stunned. No spiritual teacher had ever said it so plainly. Marriage is not necessarily about love. But the monk went on, "In this life, or one before, a seed was planted. That seed grew into a pattern. That pattern needed a mirror, and that mirror came to you in the form of your wife." In Buddhist thought, karma is not only action, it is the result of action. The experiences we face are often fruits of old intentions. The one you marry may carry unresolved karma, not as punishment, but as your teacher. The deeper the bond, the more intense the lesson. You don't just marry a person, you marry your shared past. Before vows are exchanged, the heart often feels an inexplicable pull. Sometimes it makes no sense. Sometimes it feels helpless. We call it love, but in many cases, it is resonance, not from this life, but from long-forgotten echoes. In one quiet town, a gentle woman felt an undeniable attraction to a man who brought her more tears than laughter. Her friends warned her. Her mind resisted, but her heart followed an invisible pull. Against reason, she married him. Over the years, she endured betrayal, distance, and silence. Love felt more like a wound than a warmth. In despair, she turned to a temple. The old caretaker listened quietly, then said, "What you felt was not love. It was recognition, not of beauty, but of burden. You saw the one who once owed you pain. The universe gave you front row seats to its repayment. "Then am I just meant to suffer?" she asked. "No," he replied. "You are meant to awaken. You're not suffering because of him. You're suffering because your karma is still holding on. Once you learn the lesson, pain transforms into freedom." Attraction is often karma's doorway. Not everyone who attracts you is meant to stay. Not everyone who stays is meant to bring joy. Some are only here to show you the patterns that still control your inner world. Buddhist teachings say desire is the root of suffering. And when marriage is born from unconscious desire, it becomes the perfect ground for awakening until we become conscious of its true meaning. Somewhere, two souls once loved deeply, but one walked away without a word. In a future life, they find each other again. This time, the one who abandoned becomes the one abandoned. This is karma's quiet restoration, not to punish, but to balance. In a meditation hall, a woman wept. Her husband had left her for another. Her heart was shattered. The teacher gently asked, "Can you remember a time you left someone when they needed you the most?" She paused, then nodded. The teacher said, "Your soul remembered." That's why your love ran so deep, not from pure love, but from guilt searching for redemption. Many marriages aren't beginnings, they're continuations. Now, let's follow the next thread, where karma's story continues to unfold through the very people we call our partners. Previously, we explored how karmic forces, not just love or chance, draw two souls into marriage. But that's only the beginning. What happens after the vows are spoken? Why do some unions ignite growth while others feel like prisons? Buddhist wisdom teaches that samsara, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth, does not only apply to bodies. It also applies to our emotions, our longings, our unspoken debts. If a promise is made in one lifetime and broken, it doesn't disappear. It waits, quietly, patiently, seeking fulfillment in another. Marriage, then, is not always the beginning of love. Sometimes it's karma's sacred effort to restore balance, a chance to honor a vow once forgotten, a bridge built between timelines. There are times when love is genuine, but the timing is misaligned. Two people may be perfect in essence, but not yet compatible in evolution. They share moments of beauty, laughter, and deep connection, but beneath the surface, their union feels like trying to hold water in cupped hands. The more tightly they cling, the more it slips away. In a quiet mountain retreat, a man once asked a Zen master, "We truly love each other, but we argue every single day. Should I walk away?" The master replied with a calm smile, "Your souls met too early. She is still becoming the version of herself who will understand you, and you are still shedding the version of yourself who cannot yet accept her. You met in love, but not in readiness." Karma not only determines who crosses your path, it also chooses when. Timing in karmic law is everything. Many painful marriages begin in genuine affection, but collapse under the weight of misalignment. Even two beautiful souls cannot find peace if one is still evolving and the other is already prepared. From the Zen perspective, meeting the right person isn't enough. Both must be ready, emptied of ego, present in awareness. Only then can marriage serve its true purpose. Because in its deepest form, marriage isn't about comfort. It's about conscious reflection. A true spiritual partner is not someone who always agrees with you. It's someone who shows you the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. not someone who simply heals your wounds, but someone who reveals them gently and unrelentingly. A monk once shared a parable. A candle married the wind. The wind whispered, "Will you still love me, even when I blow you out?" The candle answered, "Yes, because only in darkness will I discover the strength of my own flame." He turned to his students and said, "This is karmic marriage. You do not marry someone to complete you. You marry them so that, through them, you may remember your own completeness. Often this remembering comes not through harmony, but through friction. From the Buddhist lens, all things are impermanent, including relationships. But what is gained within the relationship, if it brings awakening, can become eternal. The ultimate goal of marriage is not attachment to each other, but liberation from illusion. The right karmic partner may not always make you happy, but they will make you aware, and some marriages are not meant to last. That does not mean they failed. It means their purpose was fulfilled. When karma completes its cycle, staying beyond that point does not nourish, it stagnates. A divorced woman once wandered into a Zen garden. With tears in her eyes, she said, "I stayed in my marriage, even after I felt dead inside. Was that loyalty? Was it noble?" The old teacher quietly placed a lotus flower into her hand and said, "That was attachment, wearing the mask of devotion." She wept. He continued, "The lotus blooms not in clean water, but in mud. Your marriage was the mud. Your healing is the flower." Buddhism teaches us that letting go is not failure, it is freedom. When the karma of a union is fulfilled, clinging only prolongs the pain. A wise soul sees the end not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Even the most painful experience can become sacred if it helps you grow. In deep meditation, some people catch fleeting glimpses of past lives, not as fantasy, but as fragmented memory. And those who do often feel strangely drawn to specific people, without understanding why, until they realize these souls played a role in their journey long before this life. Once, during a Dharma talk, a young woman asked, "Why do I feel like I've known my husband forever, even before we met?" The teacher responded softly, "Because your soul did. What you feel is not nostalgia. It is remembrance. The choice was made long before your body was born." Marriage, in its deeper truth, is not designed by logic or emotion. It is arranged by karma. What seems like accident is often continuation. You marry who you marry because your soul recognizes a task, a lesson, or a mirror it once left incomplete. In this view, marriage is not the final destination. It is simply a doorway. Some couples walk through it together toward light. Others part ways once their lesson is complete. But either path, if walked with awareness, leads to liberation. In his final sermon, a monk once said, "The goal of marriage is not to make the other person stay. It is to become the kind of person who no longer clings." Marriage is not sacred because of its form. It is sacred because of the opportunity it brings to awaken. In Buddhism and Zen, marriage is never idealized as a goal. It is simply one of many vehicles toward enlightenment. What matters is not whether it lasts, but whether it awakens. And so the karmic dance continues, not to bind, but to free. In the next chapter, we will explore how to walk this path of love and karma with awareness, peace, and grace. Previously, we uncovered that karmic marriage isn't about binding or permanence, it's about awakening. But when walked unconsciously, even the most sacred union can become a loop of repeated pain. There are two faces to love. attachment, and awakening, and many enter marriage expecting only joy, tenderness, and shared dreams. But when pain arrives, as it often does, they immediately assume something must be broken. Yet what if the pain isn't a mistake? What if it's the fire designed to burn away the illusions we carry about love? Two people may say the words, "I love you," but each may mean something entirely different. One may be saying, "You make me feel good about myself." The other may be saying, "I choose to grow with you, even when it's hard." A Zen master once said, "Attachment says, 'I love you because I need you.' Awakening says, 'I need you because I love you enough to grow through you.'" Attachment seeks pleasure. It clings to the version of a partner that brings ease and resists the version that brings challenge. But true love is not so selective. It embraces both joy and sorrow, both light and shadow, knowing that through all of it, the soul stretches and deepens. In karmic marriage, attachment often wears the mask of love until suffering peels away the disguise. Because when you marry someone, you're not just marrying their words, their smiles, or the life they promise. You're marrying their pain, their past, their wounded inner child, their quiet, unhealed stories. A man once shared with a monk, "She said she loved me, but she kept pushing me away." The monk replied, "She did love you, but her wound feared love. You didn't just marry her, you married the pain living in her silence." In Buddhist psychology, unhealed pain becomes karmic echoes, patterns that repeat across time until brought to awareness. Many marriages don't fail from a lack of love, but from the presence of unresolved inner wounds. The teaching is simple, yet profound. When you marry someone, you are stepping not only into their heart, but into the house of their pain. Unless both partners are ready to face those hidden ghosts, the house will inevitably collapse. Marriage brings you no stranger. It brings you a mirror. Every insecurity, every fear, every unresolved belief about your own worth will be reflected through the person you chose. You may think they are hurting you, but often they are simply exposing you to yourself. A woman once said, "He always criticizes me. He never thinks I'm enough." A monk quietly asked her, "Did you already believe you weren't enough before he ever said a word?" She hesitated, then softly nodded. He whispered, "Then he is not the cause. He is the mirror." Zen teaches, when the mind is still, the world reflects clearly. But when the mind is clouded by self-doubt, even love feels like judgment. In karmic relationships, the more unconscious we are, the more distorted the reflection becomes. But as we awaken, the mirror softens. You do not change the mirror by shouting at it. You heal by purifying what it reflects. Yet not all karmic bonds are born from wounds. Some emerge from profound gratitude. Sometimes a person once saved your life, offered you shelter, or gave you kindness in another lifetime. And now, in this life, your soul returns, not out of romance, but to repay a debt. A teacher once observed, when someone marries a person, they don't seem to love, yet can't leave. It might not be love holding them. It might be gratitude the soul refuses to forget. Gratitude in the karmic field is a powerful force. A single act of compassion in a previous life can blossom into an unbreakable bond in this one. And while some may feel trapped in these marriages, the enlightened view sees them differently, not as prisons, but as altars where a soul honors a promise. Completion in such unions doesn't come through guilt or endurance. It comes through conscious acknowledgement. Once the debt is repaid with awareness and kindness, the soul is released, free to move forward. And then there are karmic marriages that awaken something even greater: Dharma. Not all spiritual partnerships are turbulent. Some arrive not to stir emotion, but to awaken purpose. When two conscious souls unite, not to complete each other, but to serve the world together, their union becomes a path of evolution, not drama. A master once told his students, when two souls marry, not to possess, but to build something beyond themselves, karma bows in reverence. These are rare unions. Their power lies not in emotional highs, but in steady, grounded presence. Their love may not look dramatic, but it is quietly transformative. In Buddhist teaching, Dharma is the path, the truth, the mission. And some marriages are Dharma marriages. They are not rooted in personal gain, but in shared vision. Such couples may not have fiery arguments or grand romantic tales. Instead, their connection feels like a calm fire, steady, clear, and deeply rooted in mutual intention. In the next chapter, we'll explore how karmic marriage, whether born of pain, gratitude, or purpose, can become a gateway to inner peace and liberation if walked with mindfulness and grace. Previously, we explored how karmic marriage may arise from gratitude, pain, or shared purpose, and how each union becomes a path of reflection. But what happens when the lesson isn't learned? Even the most purposeful and pure karmic relationships are not just about healing two souls. They can uplift the consciousness of all humanity. But when lessons go unlearned, karma doesn't disappear. It simply changes faces. The same wounds return in new people, a different partner, a different name. Yet the same emotional pain repeats until awareness breaks the pattern. One woman once cried to a Zen nun, "Why do I always attract men who ignore me?" The nun replied gently, "Because your soul hasn't yet learned to stop chasing silence and start embracing your own voice." In Buddhist teachings, external experiences are shaped by internal realities. If someone repeatedly encounters neglect, betrayal, or emotional abandonment in relationships, it's not because they're cursed. It's because the soul is replaying an unresolved pattern, hoping, perhaps even pleading, for the lesson to finally be seen. The answer isn't always to find someone new. It is to become someone new within. Marriage, even karmic marriage, stops being painful the moment we become fully conscious. Pain isn't always punishment. It can be a wake-up call. The more we awaken, the more we end cycles not through resistance, but through transformation. And sometimes, transformation means letting go. Some souls do not come to complete a marriage. They come to complete a karmic cycle, not by staying, but by walking away with compassion. When you forgive someone who could not love you the way you needed, you're not doing it for them. You're liberating yourself from lifetimes of invisible emotional imprisonment. A monk once said, "The most powerful act of love is not holding on. It is letting go with peace." This kind of ending is not a failure. It is a spiritual declaration. It tells the universe, the lesson is complete. The suffering can stop. Karma doesn't end through revenge or endurance. It ends through understanding. Forgiveness breaks the karmic chain. It opens the door to new relationships, ones born not from confusion or wounding, but from clarity, growth, and mutual respect. In the karma of marriage, forgiveness is the final lesson. It is the gate through which liberation quietly waits. Who you marry reflects more than your desire. It reveals your inner world. Marriage is one of the most profound spiritual mirrors life can offer. It shows you what you carry: love, fear, illusion, and unhealed wounds. The person you marry is not a random choice. It is karma unfolding, an embodiment of your soul's deeper reality. Some marriages last a lifetime. Others last just long enough to deliver a lesson. But all marriages, whether karmic or conscious, carry a sacred message. When two souls meet in this life, they are not beginning something new. They are remembering something unfinished. So what can we take from all of this? Let's summarize the 6 truths hidden within karmic marriage. 1. Karma leads the soul, not the mind. Who you marry isn't coincidence. It's the echo of past energy, love, debt, wound, or gratitude. 2. Marriage reflects your inner world. Your partner is a mirror, showing you what's unresolved within yourself. 3. The lesson always comes before the peace. Growth is not born from comfort, but often through emotional friction. 4. Letting go can be sacred. Some marriages end not because they failed, but because they fulfilled their purpose. 5. You can change your karma. Through awareness, love, and forgiveness, you stop attracting pain and begin to invite peace. 6. Marriage is not the goal, awakening is. Whether a bond lasts or breaks, it is just a vessel. The real journey always points inward. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next content. Have thoughts or questions? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, may you walk your path with clarity, compassion, and inner peace.